Hi there everybody, this is David, and I want to tell you today about Embers of Mana, which is a really cool ROM hack of Final Fantasy Adventure, which originally came out for the Nintendo Game Boy back in like 1991, whenever I was like 9 or so years old. I remember I got a Game Boy whenever I was like 7 or something. It was Super Mario World and Tetris and all that, but whenever the Final Fantasy games started coming out for the Game Boy, even though they weren't really Final Fantasy games, they were Saga and they were Mana, I just had to have them all, and I was all about the Game Boy. I loved the Game Boy, and I loved Final Fantasy Adventure, and this takes that great game, and it turns it into something even more spectacular, and I do want to tell you all about it today, and I definitely do think that's worth the sub as you come and you join my party and you level on up with me. Thank you so much for your sub, your like, and your hype. It helps me out a ton. So when Final Fantasy Adventure first came out back when, Mana wasn't really established. You know, we didn't have the norms of the Mana series like we have today. We didn't have Mana elemental spirits. There were even like chocobos and stuff inside the game, which is very Final Fantasy, and you don't really see chocobos in Mana games any longer. So yeah, it was just kind of very different, but now this hack has taken that and it's turned it into something really cool. It stars a girl, Lean, who's searching for her mother who went missing about 12 or so years ago, and she's looking around and the world and the forest is kind of like dying and withering and all that kind of stuff, so she goes to her grandmother, and her grandmother has said, you know what, Mana is missing from the world. Your mother left, we can't find her, and Mana was, you know, good, and it was great, and all this kind of stuff. It was like powered by people's thoughts and their, you know, pure thoughts and love, but, you know, that's kind of withered, and people's impure evil thoughts have corrupted the Mana. So you set off with your grandmother in order to go to the base of the Mana tree or the base of the falls and figure out what exactly is going on, only for Lean's mother, who vanished 12 years ago, to come back kind of like demonically possessed or whatever, and Lean has to get the hell out of Dodge by iconically jumping off the waterfalls to save herself, because, you know, this is a Mana game and you can't have that without jumping off the waterfalls. So if you've played Final Fantasy Adventure back in the day like I have, then you know what you're getting yourselves into here. You have the same sort of weaponry. You have the swords, the axes, the spears, that sort of stuff. And there's also like the willpower, where there's like this gauge on the bottom of the screen, and as it fills up, it's like a precursor to a limit break, essentially. You're able to do a more powerful attack, like throw your spear across the screen, or throw your axe, or have your sword kind of power up and twirl around and things like that. So it's pretty freaking cool. And also, leveling works the same way as it did in Final Fantasy Adventure as well. Whenever you gain up a level, you don't just gain, you know, set stats like you did in a lot of games back when. You actually get to choose between one of 4 different stats. Your strength, which is how much attack power you have. Your stamina, which is essentially your defensive power as well as your HP. Your will, which makes that limit break or willpower gauge go up quicker. And then your wisdom, which deals with your magical attack power as well as your MP. And yeah, so another really nice thing about that is that a lot of the times in Final Fantasy Adventure, the weapons that you used, like, even if you like using like the sickle, or you liked using the axe, or you liked using the spear or whatever, sometimes you had to change those weapons around because some enemies were just completely immune to those weapons, and that is no longer the case here. You're able to use whatever weapon you want to. So if you like the sickle because it goes all the way around you, or you like the spear because you can throw it across the room, then just go ahead and use that. It makes it so much nicer, just a little bit of quality of life improvements right there. And then also, this game has the spells and like the correct terminology that Mana games do. Like there's this one portion where the seasons are kind of out of whack. And if you remember in Secret of Mana, where you went to like the ice country, but there was like this town that looked all tropical because Salamander was kind of locked in an oven. It's the same sort of thing here. You kind of have seasons out of whack and you have to like rescue Salamando and stuff like that. So it's pretty freaking cool. Also, you will get guest party members joining up with you just like in Final Fantasy Adventure, and they'll work the same way. Like, for example, when your grandmother goes and she joins up with you, she'll shoot up fireballs that go across the screen, kind of like the mysterious man did in the Marsh Cave. And if you use the Ask command, she will like kind of pray at special tiles and make, different things appear. A Moogle will come and join you, and he's kind of a mean little Moogle, but he'll attack with a sword, and if you ask him, you can solve puzzles together. Whereas you do gain experience by battling, you don't gain gold through battling. The only way that you can actually gain money is through gemstones. Sometimes enemies will drop gemstones like pearls, and you can sell them at the store to get money like that. Other times you will find them in treasure chests. Whereas Final Fantasy Adventure didn't have a lot of treasure chests around to find, this game does. You'll be finding keys, you'll be finding candies, you'll be finding gems, you'll be finding armors and weapons and helmets and things like that all over the place. It's really a cool touch. They did a lot more Zelda-like than Final Fantasy Adventure ever did. Also, the dungeons are much more puzzle-orientated than they were in the original game as well, whereas there you pretty much just kind of had to like use keys to unlock doors and just kind of like get through the areas. Here, there's a lot of magical orbs that you have to hit in order to reveal passages or build bridges or, things like that. And the Maddoxes have returned for like breaking down walls. The keys are back as well. However, in the original game, every time that you used a key, it would kind of vanish, and it kind of sucked because if you didn't have enough keys, you can kind of get yourself like locked out, or you had to leave the dungeon and go to the store and buy some keys. It doesn't work that way. Keys here work much more like Zelda, whereas there's only a certain number of keys that you can get in each dungeon, and then there is a specific door for each key to get through, and it's the same thing with the Maddox. You don't have to like go and buy a whole bunch of Maddoxes. Once you get the Maddox and you can knock down walls, it will no longer vanish. It is there with you forever, which is so nice. Some other quality of life improvements that I really like is that at the bottom of the screen, it clearly shows your HP, which is indicated by a little heart symbol. Your MP is indicated by like this little orb. How much experience that you need to get to the next level is indicated by an up arrow, and then how much gold you have is indicated by like a little gold satchel. One thing that they did take out of the game though is the ability to save anywhere. Unfortunately, here you can only save at goddess statues. You can't just save anywhere you want to, but goddess statues are all over the place, so don't worry too much about that. Another thing here is that pretty much as you gain new weapons and new armors, it is a direct upgrade. So you don't have to worry about like keeping old armor or keeping old weapons or anything else like that. You can just go ahead and sell your old stuff. Shields, though, they don't increase your defensive power. They just increase your ability to block projectiles. So getting an upgraded shield, like your first one might block a fireball projectile. Your second one might block an icicle projectile or an axe being thrown at you or whatever, but each one is a direct upgrade from the next, so you don't have to like go down in shields or anything else like that. It's really just kind of nice. There's a whole lot more magical spells here. There's one for each of the elements. Just like in any good mana game, you're going to get a spell for Undyne, for La Salamando, for Jin, for Lumina, all that kind of stuff too. So everything is here for you. Everything is there just like in a mana game. It's so nice. They've taken a lot of future mana songs that we heard in Trials of Mana and Secret of Mana and Legend of Mana, and they've kind of like Game Boyified them and made them like MIDI songs, if you know what I mean. So it's such a cool, fun homage to the Mana series and to Final Fantasy Adventure in and of itself. And I really, really enjoyed it. And if you want to try out this ROM hack for yourself, I will have a link down below in the video description. But now I want to hear from y'all. What do you think about this ROM hack? What do you think about the Mana series? And did you ever play Final Fantasy Adventure? Let me, just talk about all this in the comments. I'd love to hear from y'all. And as always, have a good day.